Renata, welcome to the podcast. Man, I'm glad to get you on here.
Well, hi, Bill. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it took us a while to find the time, but we're here now.
Yeah, and I've been sort of, intentionally thinking for the past week or two. I'm like, I really need to get a woman on here because very unintentionally, it just seems like only guys were on the podcast. And then you and I have been crossing, our wires back and forth for seems like over a week. And in the meantime, I've added even more guys to the podcast. But I just, for some reason, I have had this feeling of I don't want to have a woman on here until I have Renata, and I don't even know why I feel that way.
Thank you for
So
thinking about that. You see, your
something just changed in your recording, but keep talking and I'll identify it.
apologize. I can start
There,
from
that's
the
better.
beginning.
That's better. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for thinking about that. I'm European, so I have a kind of different view on all these, diversity matters. However, it took me a while to learn what's happening in the United States. So now I educated myself, and now I'm very aware. And I think that the main point being is that we just need to pay attention intentionally to underrepresented groups. And it's not just that they are underestimated. I don't like this particular word. I just think that, every time we see a woman or a person of color or like whatever else, whoever else, we just need to invite people proactively. So that's the main
Yeah.
thing.
No, I can't disagree with that at all, and I think that's sometimes why I let things go without paying attention, I suppose. Um, I don't know if that's some sort of systemic thing or I don't know. It's just, but then on top of it, when I said, hey, I really want to have a woman on here, and you seem to be an early influencer, I was like, well, she seems like a natural first step.
Well,
And
thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
thank
I
you for
mean,
that.
and you've really kind of come on the platform and taken a leadership role in not some, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's really in the sense that you've taken it upon yourself to sort of develop a best practices sort of approach for this platform to hope that it really just gets going properly.
Yes, I saw, from the first day when I started playing with BitClout, I saw very many similarities with the venture capital industry, like early stage investing in particular. You're looking at all the creators and you need to do your due diligence if you would like to fund them, to back them. And I thought that, whatever I learned from venture capital may be very well implemented here on BitClout, and it will just make our communication and our collaboration better. Because there's no need to invent a bicycle. There's many things that we can just borrow from other industries, if for this particular platform. So that's why I thought that I would just share my experience and how I do business in real life, in my industry, and maybe it will work for people on BitClout as well. So I'm collecting different business models and also like best practices for working with your audience, including coin holders. And we're writing a book with my major coin holders that is called BitClout Playbook. So it will cover pretty much all the, everything what we could think of, but mainly about the strategies, how to make it work. Bill, are you there?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm sitting here talking and thinking, well, she's not responding, but I had myself muted accidentally.
Yes.
So don't worry, we'll edit that later.
Yeah, I know.
And all right, so yeah, I was going to ask, have you started an account on BitClout for the BitClout playbook?
No, we haven't started that. Honestly, it's like with domain names. At some point, you just need to stop doing that because, um, there are like a couple of things that I'm thinking of. First, it doesn't really make sense to, spread the the funding across multiple accounts,
Hmm.
because like why would you do that if it's not like a standalone project, if it's like a in the case of the book it's a baby of a few people. So if you
Yeah.
like what we're doing, you'd better just fund us and buy our coins, right? On the other hand, I do have another project that I'm working on with a talented team. It's called Pay with BitClout, right? And this is a standalone project that's a pretty big and, like technically heavy project, where we're developing the Amazon for BitClout. And the big idea and the big vision behind it is that we want to add liquidity to BitClout as a currency so that people would, stop thinking only about cashing out from BitClout, but rather started spending BitClout as a currency, as money, on buying goods and services and arts within the platform. And thus, if they want or need to cash out, they can do it, for instance, like once a month, right? But not every time when they need, some buck to pay for something. So we would like to develop this culture that we can use BitClout as a currency, as money to make transactions with each other for our goods, services, and art. And then if you want to cash out as a salary once a month or whatever you want, then you can do that. So it adds flexibility, and it also, I think, adds some strategic vision for all the participants of the platform. Because if you treat the cloud not just as a way to for cashing out, but actually as a currency, I think it's a different approach.
Yeah. All right. So, and I literally just came upon that earlier this morning when I was looking at your account, trying to get a handle on all the things you're doing. And here's where I am on the past 5 days or so. There's just been so many rapid changes in the approach to BitClout. And I wonder to what degree it's got you, you know, scratching your head, like, how do we do this? And the reason I ask it is what you just described to me is a place, a way that people can buy and sell the digital assets on the platform. Is that a case where someone, you have one account and people come? I'm trying to figure out, how do you settle settle these transactions?
Yeah.
Is it
So
offline and then settled back online somehow, or what are you doing?
no, it's all. It will be all done online, and it's not only digital goods. So it may be even services. Like for instance, I may sell my coaching hours for BitClout, and we will be working with you as usual over the phone or something. But you can just send me BitClout on the platform. That's it. So
Right.
our the pay with BitClout as a platform will automate some of the functions of this process, right? So you don't necessarily need to go to my account and find my handle and then go to your wallet and send BitClout. So that process will be automated, right? But other than that, it's just like, think about it as PayPal, but it's not pay with PayPal; it's pay with BitClout. So that's
Okay.
it. Yeah, there are a lot of changes, and obviously it creates some uncertainty for us as developers, because we need to adjust to those changes pretty much every week. But we are prepared for that, so it's a necessity and it's a good thing.
Yeah. So, so last week when they released the node approach, where people can run their own nodes, is there a way that you're leveraging that to do the payment part of this?
Not yet, because we're launching, and the idea is to make it very light and simple. So we will start as we planned, and we will see how it goes further. And the thing is that the whole system is not stable enough yet. So it's
Mhm.
a little premature to tie ourselves to nodes. So we will, that's the next stage for us. So we will try to keep it simple. The simplest things work best at this point.
So currently you're at a stage where people they're joining a wait list so that when you're ready to launch, then we'll be able to enter this ecosphere that you've created, or what?
It's just a platform where you list your art goods or services, right? Just as eBay or Amazon, all the
Right.
same. And then
Okay.
you can choose any service that you want to purchase, and then you click button and you make the transaction. And then our bots will send you either a link to the digital product, if that's the one, or to, let's say, a calendar event, if that's, for instance, some kind of a consultation or coaching
Hmm.
hour or whatever. So that process is automated, and then you just do whatever you want. Is If it's a call, it's a call. If it's a if it's a book, you download like a
Right.
file of a sort. So yeah, I mean, just the idea is not to make things more complex than necessary.
Sure. Now, I guess now I understand it better because what I'm hearing you say now is it's really more of an eBay
Yeah.
approach where I'm listing that, transacting it, and everything right there. I get it now.
Yes. So
That
it's
sounds
a
pretty cool.
marketplace. It's a marketplace, right? So it's not like the financial transaction per se. It's marketplace first, and then with the functionality of the financial transaction.
Do you feel like it could be like a replacement for some of the NFT minting platforms? Is there
At
any
some point,
possibility of that?
yes. Yes, we have a lot of inquiries from artists, if we can sell NFTs, because the current platforms, they are pretty complex for many people. And,
Mhm.
it's kind of like they have a very high barrier for entering these platforms. So some people just, they just not my thing, and they don't create accounts just because it seems too complex for them. So we're
Sure.
working on that, and that's on our roadmap. But like again, for in venture capital, there is such a thing as minimum viable product. So
Yeah.
we bring that practice here, and I think that we will start with the simplest product, and then we will develop based on all the inquiries and on the feedback from the users.
Mhm. So when it comes to NFTs and the fact that it's really, dependent upon blockchains, do you feel like this is a viable enough blockchain that it could be a base layer for NFT minting?
Too early to say, right? So the main thing that I can say is that we want to make this platform pay with BitClout platform agnostic. So we want to develop it in a way so that it could be connected to BitClout as well as any other similar platform. And if at some point we will be able to connect that to any like proper NFT platforms, that's going to happen as well. So again,
Mhm.
it's a process, and we're doing it like in a traditional way, I would say, how we would do that in in our startup and venture capital industry. I think that that's an approach that has proved it, to be efficient and working pretty well. So, I don't know if it's good or bad, but we will stick to it.
Yeah. So in the VC world, you're certainly an early adopter as far as trying to promote something. Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how have your VC counterparts viewed this platform when you talk about it or maybe bring them ideas about it?
You'll be surprised that many VCs are actually very traditional. So I would say even conservative of sort.
No, I'm not surprised by that at
Yeah.
all.
Even though our job is to be innovators, right, and the first adopters and early adopters, but at the end of the day, when it's not really connected to our job, so let's say we're just talking about a social media, with my peers, and they are not planning on investing in BitCloud. So when they look at it as a social media, many VCs are very skeptical. And then there are such people like me, like myself. So we jump on it and we see the potential, right? And then we basically, work from there.
Mhm.
There are two approaches. Like one is assess the potential, and the other one is base your conclusions based on some background. So I'm the one that usually base my conclusions on the potential rather than on past traction or whatever. So I think people are pretty much fall into these two baskets.
Well, to what degree was it the fact that other large VCs were involved in the creation of this, like Sequoia and Social Capital?
What do you mean? Like, is there
To
a
give you
herd
some faith in it, to
herd instinct? No, not really. In our world, we have seen quite a few projects backed by top tier VCs, and those projects were extremely uh, huge failures, right? So, although there is some herd mentality in venture capital world, but it's becoming less and less dominating because risks are risks. So many VCs still prefer doing their own due diligence and still have their own beliefs, and they don't just follow top tier VCs everywhere, wherever they go. So there's more independency now after all those failures that we've heard about.
yeah. So on just a coin base, a creator coin level, to what degree do you find your VC instincts kicking in when you're looking at creators?
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the very beginning, that I found very many similarities. So,
Yeah.
first of all, I decided to take off my investor hat on BitClout. So, I am playing here as a creator, not an investor. So,
Mhm.
you will not see me, funding accounts with big amounts of money. Usually, I just do that as a token of appreciation with very small amounts. So, it's not a funding strategy. But when I started playing on the platform, that was exactly it. So it's very much alike with an early stage investing when you don't really know the players, right? So whether it's a startup or here is a creator, you have to do your due diligence from scratch. You need to go to other social media. You need to ask Google about this person and read about him or her, and then you need to actually understand if this person is planning to be active on the platform at all, right? Because many people just created their accounts, and even I funded these accounts hoping that they will bring their multi-million audience from other social media, and it has never happened. So that uncertainty also can be mitigated by reaching out to them directly and asking, hey, I saw you on BitClout, like, what do you think about the platform? Do you think that this is something that you will be doing in the future? Such kind of stuff. So to me, it's a very, very similar due diligence process as what I do with early stage startups. And then of course there are no guarantees, because even if a person says, oh yes, it's absolutely, it looks so cool, I'm just going to move all my social media on BitClout, and then it never happens. So there is no guarantees either. So
Yeah.
high risk, high reward. But also what I noticed, unlike the startup world, in early stage investing, we invest in companies and we hodl, right? And basically the longer we hold, the higher the reward. On BitClout, it's a little different in terms that you also need to know when is the right point to sell, because with all the rug pulling, and then even just a person maybe just may become exhausted and just stop being active on the platform. So you need to catch the moment to understand when it's time for you to go to sell the coin. I made a couple of mistakes like that. I was very hopeful that a couple of influencers with a very big following on other social media will stay active, and they didn't. And I didn't sell their coin at that point, and now it's worth pretty much nothing.
Hmm.
So, this is not exactly how it works in startup, well, at least from the time perspective.
Yeah.
We measure the success in years. Here, it's days. So it's a
Right.
big difference.
Well, and that's the part where I think everyone's a little bit surprised. And I guess in retrospect, we shouldn't be. I'm like many, I'll see an influencer jump on the platform and you think, okay, this person took the time to, claim their account, tweet it out to their followers and make a few posts and generate this excitement, and then nothing. So what do you think it'll take for these influencers to go, okay, I see the potential here and I'm going to try to actively, like, it almost to me seems like they have to find a way to force their real fans to join the platform. Like you can't get this unless you come over here.
Yeah, but it's very individual from influencer to influencer
Mm,
because they have different audiences, right? So I know people who have a very young audience, right? I know people who have a very lifestyle audience, and BitClout is very far from lifestyle for now. It's more techy and it's highly intellectual, right? So it's not for everyone, and that's okay. So that's another parameter that I started taking into consideration, thinking like, well, okay, like this is like, I don't know, a fashion model, and it's okay that people will invest in her or him just because of the looks, or some activities that these people are doing, like charity, for instance. Many fashion models, they're engaged in charity activities, right? So it's totally fine, but long term, will how long will it last, so
mm,
like you just actually think ahead about what this platform will turn into. And before pre-node time, right, pre-nodes time,
yeah,
I didn't quite see, if for instance, let's speak of fashion, if fashion industry will develop in any manner, in any way.
yeah,
Now I could see that, yeah, there can be actually a pretty cool node, dedicated to fashion world, and I think that's a
yeah,
cool idea. So you actually start thinking, like from a futuristic perspective, and it's a lot of fun. This is why I like my job.
yeah. Well, I just, speaking of that, the nodes and the pre-node, and now we're looking at a whole different paradigm. The It's made me start thinking completely differently about the platform and what its future is. In particular, I think I foresaw a future where it would slowly technically develop into or morph into a form like Twitter or Instagram, where people use it like that. But the more I've thought about it since the nodes have been announced, it seems like that could never work if it's truly going to be about decentralization and, censorship resistant. It almost has to be just a protocol layer that then everyone else uses in their own way. Because, imagine Twitter or Facebook, they're faced with quandaries day and night about what to allow on the platform and what not to. And no matter what they do, they're lambasted for it. So the only way out for this BitClout seems that, okay, here's the base layer that you can use to transact with, and everything just sort of funnels through, but then you need these nodes to create the experience and curate that, so to speak, or let AI do that rather than the filtering be done in that one website. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's a very complex issue to talk about because I think that I still have I'm a little conflicted on different models that I'm seeing happening or being in discussion. For instance, like the lists, white list, black list, gray
Hmm.
list for the feeds, right? It's kind of censorship. So just the fact alone that these lists exist is not decentralization in its purest way, right? So, what do I think about it? Well, as a measure of curating the feed and making the content great, it's necessary, right? But again, like from the decentralization point of view, is that the right approach? I don't know. I have no answer to that. I'm still conflicted. And, again, it's not like a bad or a good thing. I'm just trying to think, how is it going to work in reality? Because I understand that that these lists will help to curate a really interesting feed, okay, but on the other side of the coin, this is how the cancel culture will work, right? So
Hmm.
like we may be canceled with you by node owners, right, just because they don't like us personally, not because our content is not valuable for the audience, right? Is that a good way to use these lists? I don't know. I mean, obviously not. That's not right. But how
Yeah.
do you walk around that? So
That's my point,
yeah,
is now that at least takes it out of the hand of the BitClout group, of developers. It's basically saying, here's all of it. You guys filter it however you like and distribute it however you like. We're just giving you, as they call it, the fire hose. Because
right.
if they
But
don't, then they're responsible for that curation and whitelisting and blacklisting, and they'll never win at that if it's going to be truly decentralized.
yes, but it what it does on the dark side is that it gives power to node owners to basically filter whatever they however they find fit, right? And this is I don't know. I am not sure if that's a good thing. I think this is worse. My point being is that for a fair feed curation, you need independent parties who define, that there are different opinions, and we may not agree with all the opinions, right? But this is the fair um, playing ground, right? It's even
Yeah.
a playground, and everybody has the right to express their own opinion, right? So this is how I see decentralization, when we all have this even playground, and we can play the same rules, and we can be heard no matter what the editorial team thinks proper or thinks right. But with these lists, I'm not sure that's happening. I think that there will be nodes that will be promoting a very narrow point of view, and that's going to be another tool for manipulation the public opinion. So I'm very conflicted about that. And again, I don't have answer yet, so I'm just collecting opinions and I'm
Yeah.
talking about that. But this is something that I'm concerned about.
Yeah. I still think you're absolutely right in that there will be what's the word I'm looking for? Censorship. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it's going to come from somewhere no matter what. And it seems to me that BitClout's saying, we're not doing it. It's all on you guys. Unless, for me, the only way these nodes work, and for people to sort of have, subject specific or region specific or whatever, some sort of specificity as to what they're curating and filtering through their node, has to be that the blockchain itself has to be able to identify what content is. Because it seems like if you're running a node, then you need to be able to identify what the content is that you want to or to not to distribute. And that, I don't think, can possibly be done by a team of humans, in wholesale fashion. It'll require AI, but that AI is going to rely on metadata in the stream to say, this is Spanish language baseball content that your Spanish language baseball channel wants to show. And and you can filter that based on that metadata or hashtagging or however. It's clearly not there yet to provide that, it seems.
Yeah, but that's the bright side, when I actually want to read about baseball in Spanish, and this is exactly what I get, right? This is a good thing. But again, a bad thing is that pre BitClout, pre Note time, we had all the major publishers, right, who manipulated our opinion, and now we will have like hundreds of minor publishers who will be doing
Mm,
the same thing, right? So I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah. I agree. It is hard to know how to feel about it, and we're going to have to see. That's why we're here. We're here to see how it plays out, I suppose, and see what part we can be in it. But personally, I'm pretty excited about the whole node aspect, and it sort of comes to a point of understanding more about what I would assume this was a plan all along. It's just now we're finally finding out. But I
Yeah.
kind of didn't envision it, quite frankly.
Well, you see, I think that BitCloud is doing something revolutionary for sure, and I believe that there is a good intention behind it. But it's like with many other inventions, great inventions in our world, right? So there's a bright side, but there's also a dark side. So the question is, how
Mm.
will you use this tool?
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to avoid that for sure.
Unfortunately not. And this is where I like thinking about unintended consequences. This is something that we think in venture capital when we invest in companies, and we're so excited about Uber, but we didn't quite think that it could lead to job reductions, right? So that people will be losing their jobs as cab drivers, for instance, right? We didn't think about that. And like after some companies like that, we actually started thinking about unintended consequences. And here's the same thing. So we created this monster which gives us and opens us huge opportunities, but there is a dark side. Have we thought about that? Have we thought how will we filter, or is it going to be Yelp for BitClout nodes, where people can actually say that this node is very I don't know, uh, polarizing in this or that topic. I don't know whether it's politics or economics, it doesn't matter, right? So I think that we need a tool, or a platform where the community can actually decide which node is what. Is it
Yeah.
like a club with very narrow focused people, thinking that I don't know, astrology is the only religion that must exist there, or any other religion for that matter. Same about politics. We need some kind of crowdsourced I don't know how to say, probably evaluation, assessment of nodes, just to be aware that, we go to this node and it's probably, alt-right or alt-left.
Hmm.
No matter like what we're talking about, politics or whatever. So we just need that, fair assessment of nodes, just to,
Yeah.
to be aware of what's happening there. Otherwise, it's going to be, like I said, hundreds of small publishers who will be doing the same thing, which is manipulating the crowd opinion.
Yeah. I don't think it's hundreds. I think it's thousands and tens of thousands.
Yeah, well, I'm being optimistic here.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. You need some way to filter that. There will be a filter for the filter, and you've got to. I love your analogy of Yelp. That people will be. There will be a sort of Yelp, Google-esque type rating system and all of that. That
Yeah, exactly.
will
And there
happen. I
should be
never really
like
thought of
a
that.
kind of like, I don't know, it's not like an advisory board or something, but just some kind of a group of people like Wikipedia, where we are independent. And I don't really care about like everyone's personal point of view on politics or whatever. What I want to do is I want to say, hey, I know this person and he created this node, but I think that this node is, is uh, covers the information only from one point of view. So there are no different point of views there. So when you go to this node, please be aware that you will only see one side of the story. You will hear one side of the
Yeah.
story. Something like that, and I think it's very important just to help people develop critical thinking in the first place, right? So there are like so many layers to that. That's why I keep saying I don't have an answer. Don't ask me for the right answer, but this
Yeah.
is all my concerns.
Yeah, we're going to see. And to some degree, we live in that world already where we have, extreme bias from media outlets, and people just have to make that decision and evaluate when they see it. It's kind of, I guess what you're saying is we kind of need a TV guide for node watching, um, to let us know what the content is. But yeah, there's a whole new industry right there just in indexing these nodes, I suppose.
Precisely, yeah. And we want to make sure that this TV guide or this Yelp consists of people who are independent, like I said, like Wikipedia, we do not take sides. We just give a fair assessment of
Hmm.
everyone's node. And, we just inform the audience that here's what this node is about. And that's it. And people have to make their own decisions about it. So it's like old school journalism, I come from the old school of journalism, where I was taught that as a journalist, I should not express my own opinion on the matter. I should only present the facts for people, for my audience to come to their own conclusions. So this is what I think is the best practices for journalism. And unfortunately, these days, we see it less and less. So I would love to, keep this principle alive when we're talking about Yelp or TV Guide
Yeah.
for BitClout nodes.
All right. So let's circle back to where we started, I guess, with now I'm drawing a blank on the name of your. Well, you've got two things. You've got the principles
Mm-hmm.
of, and I'm pulling those up now, I think, off of your profile, the 10 principles of BitClout.
Yeah.
And now you collaborated with some other community members on this,
Mm-hmm.
right? How did you go about finding those people to collaborate with?
It was absolutely crowdsourced, and I didn't approach anyone with any kind of offer like let's write these principles. Basically, I just started doodling at some point, during my first week on BitClout, and just one morning, drinking my cup of coffee, I was like, well, there should be some, kind of just set of principles or just common vision framework for people to be on the same page. And I'm a burner, so it kind of like was a no-brainer to go and see the 10 principles of Burning Man in the first place. And I
Mhm.
found that many ideas from there are actually applied to BitClout. So I just basically, copy pasted what I think was relevant. And then in Clubhouse rooms or on BitClout, I was just, saying that, hey, look, so here's what I think we could do. And if you want to contribute and if you want to share your ideas, how, what principles this document may include, just go, by this link and add whatever you think necessary. And yeah, so you could see all the people who contributed their thoughts. And sometimes it was just one word, sometimes it was the principle itself, sometimes it was the description. It doesn't matter. But, we kind of like, for instance, we settled with all the principles at some point, and then someone said, I think that, mentorship is important. I was like, that's exactly it. We need to add this word mentor because it's very applicable here. So, even one word sometimes matters, like the whole
Mm.
principle. So, yeah, we have Andrew Arts contributed, Kamal Ravikant, Alex Torelli, Anthony Young, David O'Brien, Charlie Hilton, Stefan Grafstein, memes even.
Yeah,
He's with his memes, but he's an absolutely genius lawyer, and I love how his brain works. So yeah, I was really, thankful to everyone who contributed even one word, but that
right.
was really important.
Okay, so if you don't mind, for the benefit of the listeners, I'm going to read the list, just the headings.
Please do,
And I'm
yeah.
going to, all right, so first is radical inclusion, 2, making a mark, 3, doing good, 4, give, 5, transparency, 6, civic responsibility, 7, ethical funding, 8, participation, 9, your coin doesn't define you as a human, 10, be a builder. All of those are like very foundational and important. But just right at this precise moment in time, which of those is like most, foremost in your mind?
Yeah, it's very interesting to look at these now from the notes perspective. And I think that they still play out very well, if we're thinking about the notes. And I think, to continue what we have been discussing with you previously, civic responsibility is possibly the most important for me right now. Because, like I said, this monster tool brings a lot of good, but it may also be used maliciously and, bring a lot of bad. So I think, we need to be responsible for, what's out there. And if we see that it's not working for the good of the society, we just need to be vocal about it and say, hey, look, I have my concerns and it's not personal. I don't want to
Yeah.
offend anyone, but here's my concern about this node because. And it shouldn't be like just, bashing or banning or again, like canceling anyone. It should be a well articulated concern with facts and arguments pro or cons. So it should be just reasonable so that people would be able to analyze the information and make their own decision.
Okay, so let me read that one. Number 6, civic responsibility. The welfare of others should be as important as your own. Every member of our community should assume responsibility for communicating civic values to participants and educate them on various matters to increase the diversity of views and opinions. Only by experimenting and creating a feedback loop can we together grow this into a long-term community with high integrity. That seems like perfect to me in a utopian world. But if you were wanting to apply that same level of civic responsibility to today's internet, it it's not going to happen.
Well, I believe that there will be a group of people who genuinely believe in this principle, and other people who will want to benefit from it. They will
Hmm.
be gravitating to this group of people. So I think
Yeah. So
it's
maybe it helps people find their way with it.
yeah. I mean, look, this world is not perfect, of course, right? But it doesn't mean that we should forget about this and don't do anything about this, right? So
Yeah.
I will stand my ground. I will keep doing that, and whoever thinks that I'm doing a good thing, they will gravitate towards me. And this is how we unite in groups.
Yeah.
This is how
No,
we
I
form tribes.
I agree, and I think that's the way the internet has evolved into us to some degree, where people there's always going to be some bad stuff, and most people stay away from that. Some people are going to go there, but um, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and maybe in some ways the node effect is better because it gives people a better opportunity to if we can, as you said, sort of forewarn people what they're going to see and help them prioritize where they're going to visit, what node they may want to consume, it helps keep them away from the things that perhaps the bitclout.com on its own may not have been able to, limit them on
Yeah, exactly. And
or provide them.
ultimately, at the end of the day, everything what a human does, it's a matter of choice, right? So the only thing that other people can do for this particular human is just to provide him with all the different choices that there are around. And in this sense, we're just giving that human some information about the nodes and what he or she should be aware of and be prepared for. And we cannot affect their choices. I mean, we can, but we don't want to. Like I said, I want to keep it fair and just provide a fair information about whatever, and encourage the person, that human, to apply critical thinking, logical thinking, to make the right choice. That's the maximum that I can do. I'm not going to impose anything on anyone, because otherwise it's I contradict my own words, right? So
Yeah.
like, if I think something is good, I still think that I shouldn't impose it on the person, because what's good for me may not be good for this person. So my my goal, I think, is just to show that it exists and allow a person to make their own choices.
Yeah. Okay, we could go on to this heavy stuff for an hour or two more, but I want to talk about something that also interests me, and that's RVing.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, I can see on your profile or somewhere, that I've seen where you rehab RV or trailers. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and I think that I will probably also share a link with you where I list all of them. I have had 5 in the making. I'm now working on an RV that will look like a stormtrooper from Star Wars. So
Oh
that's the
my
new
gosh.
theme. Yeah, I know, it's a lot of fun, and it's already sold. So I kind of, like, some people fall in love with them, and they just book them, reserve them for themselves before I even finish them. So how it all started. I was a big skeptic regarding Burning Man, and I was bitching about this and this culture until I actually went there. And when I reached the gate, and I swear here, and I'm very humble about this experience, because it made me change my mind, and I'm very proud that I was able to actually change my mind. And I think everyone should just, be open to that. When I reached the gate, I felt that this is actually home, although I had never been there, and I had always thought that when people say, I want to go back home to Playa, I found it very cheesy. I was like, oh, just come on, just stop this bullshit, okay? For God's
Yeah.
sake. So I was that, but then I actually said, well, I cannot judge something until I actually try this, right? Like, how can you judge something if you have never tried it? So I decided, all right, so I'm gonna go to Burning Man to prove myself right, that this is just a bad idea. And it all worked out like exactly the opposite. So I just fell in love. And that year, we were coming back from Burning Man. And before we reached home, we stopped and bought an RV for the next year. So that's how much I fell in love. So, literally before I washed off the dust from my body,
Mhm.
I bought my first RV for the next year, Burning Man. So it
And
was
they're Airstreams, right?
so no, my first RV was a motorhome, and that was an experiment. So then we decided that motorhome. We had like 33-foot motorhome, which is a challenge to drive, in small towns.
Mhm.
So we decided that bumper pull trailer is our choice. So, and then we bought our first Airstream, which was the recent model that you usually call Silver Bullet, right? From
Mhm.
aluminum, bare aluminum. And I didn't like the layout, and I was in the market looking for another layout. And I discovered for myself a painted Airstream, which I had never known of. So apparently, Airstreams manufactured a more economical model in the 1970s. It's called Argosy. So they even didn't put the Airstream label on these trailers,
Wow.
just to show that this is a different, like, kind of an Airstream. So it's called Argosy or Argosy, like some people pronounce it in a different way. Um, and the difference between them was that they used a lower grade aluminum, and they painted it for that reason because it wasn't that shiny. So all these Airstreams came out painted from the factory. And this is when I realized that, oh my God, you can actually give your Airstream an identity, whatever you want it to be. It's not just Silver Bullet, it may be whatever. So I started buying Argosy specifically, again, looking for a perfect layout for myself. But also I decided that, well, okay, so I buy it, I design it as I see it, I take it for a spin, and if I like the layout, I keep it. And if I don't like the layout, I'm just going to sell it. So it wasn't like a business. It was just a hobby. And I was just, experimenting with this. But it grew, into just like, hobby that no one knew about, into something that like all the media are talking about right
Yeah.
now. Because,
Yeah, I'm
uh,
excited to see what your next creation is. I love Airstreams. I actually have a motorhome, but I always say that if I'm ever gonna get as you put it, a bumper pull
yeah,
trailer, that's what I want is Airstream. Something,
totally. Yes.
or an Argosy now
Airstream.
maybe.
No, totally. They are. They have this unique shape, like a bullet, indeed, right? But I just find it's fascinating. It's such a strong brand and such a strong community, the same as Harley Davidson. Like on Facebook,
Yeah.
we have a group of Airstreamers, and it's more than 50,000 people, and it's an extremely supportive group. So yeah, it's a culture. It's a culture.
Mhm.
So I have a few. Like last year, I was working on them, and I made them in automotive themes. And we will attach the link to this recording, and
Yeah.
people could see these themes. But like I said, now the new one is Stormtrooper. And my favorite unit that I keep for myself as of now, and I don't know, maybe I will fall in love with something else, later that I will create. But this is my favorite now. It looks like Warhawk, the jet
Yeah.
fighter from
I've
World
seen
War
that one.
II. Yes, with the shark mouth on it. It's painted though in the automotive theme as well. It's the original paint for Pontiac Firebird 1969. So I still keep, for some reason, the automotive paint looks good on Airstreams. It
Yeah.
just looks good on
Yeah, that
Airstreams.
thing looks cool. Well,
Yeah.
Renata, I can't thank you enough. This has been awesome. I wish I had more time to talk about Airstreams, but we would go along and eventually bore everyone. But um, we're going
We
to have
can
to
do that
talk
again
offline about
separately. Yeah.
that. All
Okay.
right. Well, I'm glad we were able to do this, and I can't thank you enough.
Yes, thank you so much, Bill. It was a very stimulating conversation, actually. We were talking about pretty heavy stuff, but I love
Mhm.
it. I love it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for this.
cool. Stick around.